Okay, good morning. Welcome to day 3 of Take and Make Camp. Okay, we are today going to do some watercolor painting. I want you to get open your watercolor kit, and we are going to first, because this is a brand new set of paint, which is so exciting, and you have all your brushes ready, I'm going to walk you through waking up your paints, getting your brushes going, and doing a warm-up, and then we're going to start doing sort of a landscape picture. And then you have extra paper to do some paintings on your own today. So the first thing you're gonna do, since this is a brand new paint set, you need to kind of wake up the paint. So can you guys still see my hands? It seems to be delayed, but I'll just keep going. Okay, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get your water cup and take your biggest brush, which is the flat brush. And you want the big one because you want it to have a fair amount of water on it. And you're gonna drop it. Can you hear the loon? Oh, you might hear it again. We're going to drop a little bit of water in each color without touching the color. So if you can see my hands down on the other camera, what I do is I basically tip the brush. Hold on. I tip the brush so that it doesn't actually touch and let the water puddle in each color. If you touch the paint, don't panic, just clean your brush off in between. Basically, the yellow is the color that's most at risk because yellow is kind of weak. But you want to drop a little bit of water in each color and then move the palette around a little bit. And then, because these are brand new brushes, you also need to get them wet because they have a little bit of glue in them for transport. So when you get them, they look a nice shape. But if you get them all wet, drop them in the water, then the glue will slowly come out. I wanted to tell you that these are the prang. If you were to buy more prang, because you'll go through this set, I don't know, it'll take you a little while. Don't get the washable kind. Watercolor is naturally washable, but they do something weird to it, and the orange and washable prang is not very good quality. So make sure you get prang. Prang's a really nice brand. So anyways, you've dropped a little bit of water in each of your colors. It's sitting there. And now with your medium size, one of your medium sized brushes, it's up to you whether you want to use which brush you want to do, but you want to sort of like massage the water into each color. And you have to be careful that you wash off your brush in between. But when you go to do that, don't start with the black because then you might drag the black into all of them. So just lightly kind of get the paint ready. There's the red. I clean the brush off in between, totally. Wipe it on the paper towel, and then do a little bit on the orange.
Wait, what's happening? It just kicked me for a second.
It seems to be glitching a little bit. Elena, are you okay?
Yeah.
Elena? I don't know what's going on. Elena is stuck. What I might end up doing is I might resume you guys in a second. Are you guys seeing my hands or not? Uh-oh. Okay. You know what I'm going to do, everyone? Can everyone hear me? I am going to resume you. I'm going to move the computer into another place of the house and see if this works a little bit better, okay? Did everyone hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Do you think I should do that or should I keep going? What's the vote here? You don't know. Is it working? Are you guys seeing everything and hearing me or is it glitching?
It's working for me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you guys see my hands okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll just keep going. Would you just let me know if it's glitching? It seems like it is, but maybe I'm just not seeing it. Okay, so does everybody have their paint woken up a little bit? Gotten all their paints ready? Is that a yes?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know what we were doing.
Well, Lily, what I was just showing you is that we're putting a little bit of water in each of the colors, And then we are taking our medium-sized brush and sort of just making sure that each of the paints are saturated. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to just experiment a little bit. Take the little piece of paper you have, the little piece, okay? And what we're going to do is we are going to just experiment with what the different brushes do. Now we have two different kinds of brushes. We have a flat brush, which is the brush that has all the hairs that come to the edge. And then you have a couple of round brushes. One of them is a little tiny detail brush. And the other one is just a slightly bigger one. And that was the Prang brand. So these brushes do different things. So taking your biggest brush you have, make sure you don't have so much water that it's dripping off. So wipe a little bit of it off. Grab whatever color you want. And what I want you to do is I want you to notice that I put my pinky down as an anchor, and I want you to drag and make a line with that brush, the full length of the little piece of paper. Okay, so with a flat brush, especially one that's so wide like this, not only can you make a nice edge with it, you can also turn your brush this way and make lines this way. So basically right now we're experimenting with what each brush can do. You can grab a different color if you want. You can also just paint little, what I call them, bricks. And if your paint is wet where you put those strips, you can take another color that would blend well with the color you're already using. So yellow or orange blend well with the red because it's in the warm family. And you can drop that color in, see what happens. So the paint only goes where the water is. So it's not going to leave that area. So right now we're just experimenting with some marks. So while I have one of these the little round brush out, I'm going to grab a different kind of color. And we're going to practice doing some snake kind of things. Okay. Hey. So when our brush, oh, see, it's about to drip. Let's let it drip onto my, it's kind of fun. So if anyone sees the way I'm doing it, I'm not sure if I can see it. If you want to do a drip thing, you don't actually flick the brush. What you do is you let it go down and then you just kind of tap it, and that lets off the paint. Okay, so to practice making our little variety of our worms, you want to hold your brush all the way up on its tippy toes and then slowly press the hairs down.
Everything going well here? Gabe is actually
Try it again. I'm going to put your brush on its tippy toes and then press it down medium and then press it down all the way. Just experiment. Try all your brushes out. Elena looks like she's doing okay because I can kind of see hers. Feel free to try all the colors. See what happens when you do one of your brick lines over one of your snaky lines, when something is wet, when something is dry. Try to wave your brush around. These are really, really nice brushes. But you can see I'm dragging some of the paint that's already wet around. All right. All right, so that gives you an idea of playing around with your brushes. So even though you only have two different kinds of brushes, they do different things. So feel free to fill that piece of paper up with paint marks. Experiment, kind of play. You can remember that you can turn each brush in different angles. So here's my little, my flat brush up on its tippy toes. This kind of brush is good for doing something that's architectural. or geometric, whereas the round brush is better for doing something that's organic. And I also want you to notice that sometimes when you pick up the paint, it's transparent and sometimes it's opaque. So what I mean is the amount of water and ratio to the color is playing. So for example, if the water is there's a lot of water and a very little color, you're going to have something very transparent. So like right here, this purple. Whereas if there's a lot of color in the relationship to pigment and relationship to water, you're going to have it very opaque, like that purple area. So experiment with how thin or thick your paint is compared to the water. All right, and then we're going to start a little painting. It feels though you guys are all kind of sleepy today. Am I correct? It's only Wednesday. You better wake up before we do our soap carving tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow's the soap carving. Hey, did you guys do any more clay after class yesterday? Did anybody make something cool?
Yeah, I added hair to mine.
You what, Lily?
I added hair to my sweatshirt, and
Oh.
I added arms.
Oh, cool. All right, good. Okay.
I tried to add a face, and it didn't go well.
Oh, well, maybe that's something you could paint on later.
I got like an eye shape, but
Cool. All right. So you should have a couple of different pieces of smaller paper. And even though I have this beautiful landscape behind me, and I would like to do that in a few minutes, I'm feeling, because my sense is that we need another little warm-up painting. So after you fill up that little piece of paper with all kinds of marks, you don't want to make it into a flood, but have some fun with it and do that. That'll make a really good, later on, if you wanted to, you could cut that into strips and put a hole punch on the top, put some string on it. That would make a nice bookmark as a gift for someone. And if you make a bad watercolor painting, I always say it could make a good bookmark or a card for someone. You could cut it up or do something interesting, or a collage. Okay. So what you're going to do for this next little exercise, I'm just going to show you how to make a tree, which is pretty easy with the help of a sponge, like a maple tree. What I want you to do is put your little sponge I gave you in your water cup. We're going to get that ready. And I want you to have your little tray available. And after you get your sponge in the water, I want you to squeeze it all the way out so it's no longer soaking. And put that in the tray. Are you guys seeing my hands okay? It seems to be kind of glitching.
yeah, I can see them. Wait, what size paper are we using?
We're just going to use the little one again, okay? All right, so you got the sponge, you got it wet, you squeezed it all out, so it's mostly dry, but it's soft now. And now you've got your little piece of paper. And I'm just going to walk you through doing a little landscape. We're going to kind of make it up together. So the first thing you're going to do is I want you to notice that on the opposite side of your watercolor set, you have these little trays. And you can do color mixing there, but you could also do color mixing in that clear plastic tray where I had you put your sponge. You always want to do your color mixing outside of where your original colors are, just like when we did the acrylics on Monday, because you don't want to get your paints all nasty, because that's always depressing. If it happens, I'll show you how to clean it out. Again, it's the yellows you have to watch out for. So what I'm going to do is you're going to get your blue paint ready. We're going to do some blue sky. I'm going to show you how to do some clouds. And then we're going to let that dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to paint the tree. So in your little watercolor pan, I think that's fine. Put some water down in the pan, maybe 2 drops with your big brush. Grab a little bit of the blue and thin it out. Okay. So we're going to just go ahead and we're going to do some some sky, some clouds, and some water on this entire little piece of paper. You might have to make some more paint as you go, and that's okay. All right, so here we go. Here's my brush. Remember, it's not like dripping wet with paint. And you can have your paper either up and down or horizontal, whatever you want, hot dog or hamburger way. I'm gonna do mine the hot dog way. No, that's the hamburger way because I wanna have a lot of tray canopy. So here we are. I'm gonna start with one edge of my paper and I'm gonna put down a strip of blue all the way so it runs off the paper. And then when I do the next strip, my brush just touches the end of where I did the last strip. And I'm gonna keep doing that, but very soon because I don't want it to dry, I'm gonna do 2 more, end to end, grabbing the bottom of each strip I paint. You guys should really be watching this because this is, it's not that it's hard, it's just that you may not know how to do it unless you look. Okay, so I've got blue, that's called a wash, all the way across the top of my picture. Now I'm gonna take a little bit of paper towel very quickly, and while it's wet, I'm gonna make a little bunch. Oh, I didn't make a very big bunch. And I'm gonna lift, and guess what I'm doing? I'm putting down clouds. All right, I have 3 little clouds, and if I make some smaller clouds along the bottom, then that suggests the space. We talked a little bit about that on Monday, that the further away the clouds are, or the closest they get to the horizon, they appear to be smaller. So here's some little itty bitty clouds that all I did was the wash of blue, and then while it was drying, while it was still wet, I just grabbed a little ball of paper towel and just lifted it, and it makes these really nice light little clouds. Now, of course, if you come up with another way to do it, you can do it your own way, but that's one way of approaching it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some water. And water and sky aren't always exactly the same kind of blue, but you only have one blue there. So what I want you to do is make sort of a blue-green, just to make it a little bit different. So use your original blue. Are you guys there? I think it's glitching. Lily, are you there?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. All right, so use your original blue and put a touch, a very small touch of the green and the blue. Okay, and now what you're gonna do is you're gonna flip your paper the other way because we don't want to touch that wet edge. We're gonna drag, we're gonna go from the bottom towards the top, and I have a little bit of blue-green, and I'm making the paint a little bit more saturated so there's less water in relationship to the color. I'm gonna do the same thing, I'm gonna do a wash. So from end to end with a big brush. You might notice your paper is curling up a little bit. I have my finger kind of holding it down.
Wait, so we're just going on the opposite way?
Yeah, I just flipped it upside down and going the other way.
I thought you turned the paper the other way.
I did, Lily. Yeah, I did. Take a look. See, it's upside
No,
down.
but not upside down.
Oh.
I just meant, like, I thought you turned it to the side.
Oh, okay. Okay. And my blue-green wasn't that different, just a little bit. If you want to make yours more intense, you certainly can. I'm going to go back on top a little bit more from end to end. Make it a little bit louder. So what you're doing is called a wash. There are like 5,000 videos on YouTube on doing watercolor with washes. So in essence, I'm gonna turn the paper back around because I did the water, but I was painting upside down. I have a little landscape here, and honestly, that could be done right there. I could leave it just like that. I could put some little islands there. I could put a little boat in my picture. The water's pretty quiet. There's not a lot of wind, but I could change that. So that's a beginning of sort of a little waterscape. So I'm gonna let that dry and let you guys catch up, and then I'm gonna show you the next thing. Lily, thanks for letting me know how it's going there. Now I just cleaned the table up because if you have a lot of paint like on the table where you're working, it gets all over the place. And I'm letting my little painting dry, and I'm gonna show you how to do a little maple tree, okay? That's sort of hanging over by the water. We're gonna add a little grass. So we're making like a little mini landscape. Okay. Jack, are you all right, buddy?
Well, I can't really do the landscape because my mini piece of paper is already full.
Oh, don't you have another one, buddy? Do you have another little mini? Take a look.
Well, the only other little mini one is a little book thing.
Oh, that might be from last week. You could use that, Jack. It doesn't matter. You should have a couple more little pieces, though. Maybe look in the bag and.
I have big pieces, but that's it.
Yeah,
Some big pieces.
That's peculiar. Well, Jack, just go ahead and either cut that in half or just open it up and use the whole sheet, whatever you'd like to do.
I made mine too green.
That's all right, Lily. Don't worry about it. We can soften that up. Now, we're going to go to the big paper here pretty soon, but just while you're painting in this, because this is recording and it's helpful, if you run out of paper and you want to do some more watercolor painting and you need to get some more paper, you could paint on any kind of paper, but your painting probably is going to suffer from that because watercolor paint likes watercolor paper. So at the bare minimum, you could see if your family has some cardstock to paint on, which is a slightly heavier paper. But ideally, you want to get watercolor paper, which it's called watercolor paper, and you want to get something called cold press. And the most important thing is that it's 140 pounds. That means that is the weight of the paper. So online, there's tons of watercolor paper, and it's just important to find 140 pounds. Do you guys hear that? So we're gonna paint the lake while we're at the lake. It's kind of cool. Grant, how you doing? Okay, good. You all right too? Okay. All right. So this is dry enough that I probably could put the tree in, because the thing about watercolors is if you paint too soon, then you risk like completely having one color go into another. So I often do a few paintings at the same time. All right. So what you're going to do is, such like the landscape right in front of me, we're actually going to go a little backwards. You're going to put the tree in first, and then we're going to add some grass. So the tree's going to be kind of floating. So you should have your little sponge ready. And what I want you to do is I want you to mix up some brown, but I don't want you to use straight brown. So I'm going to grab my big brush, and I'm going to put some brown over in the pan across from it. But if you use straight brown, it just looks like you're painting like you're in kindergarten. You want to put some blue in it or some purple in it, which is what I'm going to do. And usually if the tree is next to the lake, it gets a little silhouetted. So when I look at the tree out here right now, it feels quite dark compared to the paleness of the lake. So you want to make a little pan of this brown that you have modified. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take this edge of your sponge, the thin edge, and that's what you're going to use for your trunk. Okay, so here is my sponge. I'm dipping it in the watercolor pan. Might have to make more paint because the sponge was super absorbent. And what I'm going to do is I might do a couple of different trees. So here's one trunk. Watch carefully, kids. And as I look at this, the one problem is I did not have enough paint on my sponge. So I have to go back over, and you might come to that too. So what I was doing was one push down of the sponge was one piece
So
of the
where did
trunk.
you start?
I started at the very
The base?
bottom. I'm going to do it again right now because I didn't have quite enough paint on my sponge. So I just am dipping this in there. I'm going back towards the very bottom. And I'm putting in a trunk. This is quite a fat tree trunk for this landscape, but that's okay. It's up close. And I can repeat it. I can put in another tree. Maybe this one is tipping a little bit. Ava, you hanging in there, honey? I hope you're hanging in there. Okay. Ooh, I just dropped my sponge. That's all right. All right. So I have my tree trunks. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a little bit of the canopy here. One second. Let me get the sponge. Okay. So I can rotate the sponge. So maybe I want it to get, maybe I want to get my tree trunk a little darker. I could even add a little bit of black, just a little bit to my brown concoction, because contrast is nice. And if you make like a dark purpley brown, that's really going to be cool because I said so. Okay, I'm going to re-dip my sponge and I'm going to do another layer of tree trunk action. I'm going to go over my original lines. Ooh, I like that better. Okay, so there's my tree trunk. And now what I want to do is I'm going to grab the bigger round brush I have, and I'm going to grab some of that purpley brownish black, and I'm going to add just maybe one or two little branches. So if my tree is already leaning, what I can do is now add a little branch there because it's coming off of it. I could add another one at the top. If I want a little skinny branch, remember my brush is up on its tippy toes. And look, I'm leading the paint into the trunk. Maybe it's a little too skinny too fast, so now I'm going to go a little wider. It's totally up to you how you do it. It's always nice if you have a variety of marks. So I just did this little delicate line that comes off of that medium size tree trunk. All right, now I'm going to add another one on the other tree. I'm going to make it super delicate so my brush is up on its little tippy toes. I'm going to slowly press it down until it goes fat, and I'm going to lead it into the other trunk. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more to that color. It was sort of didn't look great. Okay. So the paint only goes where the water is. So you have a wash of paint and you drop in color. It will only go where the paint is still sort of permeating with wetness. So you can see what I'm doing is I am dropping in this purpley black into where I put the sponge down. And do you see how it only goes? It doesn't drip into the water. It only stays with the area that already was pretty moist. And if you work with watercolor, because it's a really fluid medium versus fighting with it, then your paintings are going to come out a lot better. So if it flows, try to turn that into what Bob Ross called it, the happy accident. try to make it into part of your picture. Because I find people who are not comfortable with it flowing all over the place start panicking and then hate their art. So we don't want that. Okay. So my tree trunks are done enough for now. And what I'm going to do in a second here is start to do the canopy. All right. I'm just looking, it's 8:30. We're doing okay on time. So I'll let you guys paint for a second. You can see my little tree trunks a little bit better. I just moved it a little bit more into your sight level. And Jack, did you find some paper to paint on, buddy? Fiona, how's yours going? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Okay, so it's not quite dry enough to do the next step, but I'm gonna show it to you anyways. So you're gonna grab your sponge and you wanna clean it out because you don't want this brown gook on it before you start doing some green business. So put it in the water and squeeze it all the way out. And my palette is starting to get a little full. So now I'm gonna go to the big plastic ones. Oh, that was Buddy. He's saying, Uncle Reed, you're playing with the other dog without me and I'm feeling really left out. He's just gonna have to wait. Okay, so we're gonna make some green now. So let's go to another pan, put some water down in it, put some green in it. And remember, if I use straight green, it's kind of boring. So I wanna make it a blue green or a yellow green. I'm gonna go for yellow green. And I'm painting with my left hand, which feels really weird. So when you make a yellow green, it almost feels like springtime. But if you make a blue green, basically it could feel more like the fall or late summer. I'm gonna do the spring green because that's what I'm in the mood to do. So I'm gonna make a good pile of it. Remember, anytime you put your brush in that yellow, you wanna make sure that your brush is clean, because if you put that dirty brush in there, you're gonna be bummed out. All right, so I've got my yellow green all ready to go. I'm gonna leave my brush tipped in it like this. Now I'm gonna come over with my sponge that is not dry, but it's fairly wet. And I'm gonna go to the cleaner side. And I'm going to dip my sponge into a clean part of the green. And I'm gonna go over here now and be careful of my wetter spots. I'm gonna sponge on and suggest leaves. That was the dog, not my stomach. All right. Okay, so I'm not doing leaves right in the front of the tree trunk because the way I painted it, it looks like the tree trunk's right in front of you. And I want my leaves to look like they're behind the tree. So I'm kind of sponging. I put a little bit over the tree trunk, but I also, that brush I set aside, I like to make my tree trunks, my leaves with round brushes, and I call them duck feet. So what I do is I get a nice clean round brush. It's been stained purple from earlier. So do the best I can to clean it. I'm gonna make some more of that yellowy green, and now I'm gonna make my duck feet. So watch how I do the duck feet. I put my brush up on its tippy toes. I hope you guys can see this. And I press it down. Oh, it didn't quite work. I need more paint on my brush. All right, here's a duck foot. Here's another one. So it's from tippy toes to the fattest part. And because I already have some wet paint down, it's sort of not making a nice concrete one like this one here. But you can bead in or drop in a slightly different kind of green where you already did some sponging. And that also suggests some leaves or some foliage. Okay. You could put some leaves in the front of your tree if you want. Just be mindful of any like big piles of wet color because you may not want to touch it. You might want to let it dry. So I have a big pool of paint right there where my trunk is, and I don't want to get that green to pull it away from that area. I want to keep it in its place. Okay, so you have now the tree fairly well developed. You have the sky in there enough. You have your water in there, but you can put a lot more details into this. So we could put some grass down the bottom so it makes sense the tree trunk is coming down from something. It's not just floating up. You could put something in your water, a loon, a boat, whatever you want. Okay, now here's a way to do some grass on the bottom. So grab your flat brush, make some green. I'm going to make a different kind of green. I'm going to put a little bit of blue in my green this time. And I'm going to take my medium-sized flat brush, and to do grass, I'm going to turn the brush up on its tippy toes. And I'm going to have some of the grass bend over in front of my tree trunk. And I could show that maybe there's a little bit of wind by tipping the grass. There's a lot of repetition, a lot of brush strokes that repeat each other. Now you could fill the whole bottom part with some grass, or you could do just some select areas. Buddy is really sad that you guys are painting without him. Come here, Buddy. Silly dog. Okay.
Maybe Buddy can paint with his paws.
Oh yeah, we get Buddy paint with his paws. I think about if Buddy only knew everything that I've taught him over the years. He's attended hundreds, if not thousands of art classes, right, Ava? Now the other dog is feeling left out and he wants to be part of it. Have you guys seen those funny videos and stuff about animals painting? There's a book out there from the 1980s. It's called Why Cats Paint. It's pretty funny. But it has pictures of cat artists. Okay, anyways, back to our painting thing. Do you see the little grass down on the bottom? It looks pretty good. You want to have some of the grass go in front of your tree trunk and some of it suggests that it's going behind. And I think this landscape for me, in terms of instruction, is probably enough for now. Let's go to your big piece of paper. Hold on a second. Buddy Farrell, come here. He's now pushing the door, but come here, please. All right, thank you. All right, let's go to the big piece of paper. You can work on this on your own. Elena, you did a nice big wash. Let it dry for a minute before you do anything. Maybe what you want to do is if you have a sunny window, you could put your little painting in the sunny window for a few minutes and then go back to it later to work on it, okay? All right, now, this is the landscape, the official one I was gonna have to do with you today. Let me share the screen, show you the picture. All right, where is it? All right, here we go. Take a look at this. This is my view behind me. Can everybody see that? Okay. So when I was thinking about the trees, I was thinking about what's going on here. The trees frame the lake. You know, you've got a tree on the right, and then you have a couple on the left. And I really like how the canopy, the shape of the trees on the top, kind of hug the sky. They have their arms and their leaves are all stretched out. And then there's some little Adirondack chairs in the front. And then my favorite part is that yellow floating dock, which is also a source of torment because it doesn't belong to this house and we're not allowed to use it. So anyways, what you can do right now is take a look at this photograph and ask yourself how you might interpret that. And I see some drippy painting going on, which is really cool. I'm not going to say who it is, but I love it. If you could let your paint drip, that's awesome. So if you were to do this painting based on the little tree study you did, you could do it in a similar way. So Elena, I saw, did like this big orange and pink kind of like sky or water. You don't have to copy it. You just have to interpret it. In fact, copying things is not a bad thing to do, except that it's a little boring. I'd rather you be imaginative. So what you could do first if you wanted to is start with putting a wash down for the sky and a wash down for the water, or you could spend some time drawing it out without too much detail, just enough to get the information in there, but you just have to start. All right, so I'm gonna stop my share for a second. Does anyone have any ideas how they want to start that? Elena, I love what I'm seeing with what you're doing. Any chance you want to tell us what you're up to give these guys an idea? I know, you're muted.
Well, I was just doing the sky because that's kind of what I've been doing this time because I did the night sky and then earlier I did this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that came out good. I love that you were really comfortable with putting down a big wash. One thing that I have found in my years of painting, it's nice sometimes to have to tape down my picture. But I didn't want to give you guys giant rolls of tape. But if you have some tape, like painter's tape, then that's always good. So you can tape down every single edge of your paper, and then when you do a big wash, it doesn't jump up off, right? So Elena, what are you going to do next?
Well, probably once it dries, I might make like a lake under it or something.
Yep. That looks like a good start for doing like a sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, I'm just going to throw this out to you guys. You see how Elena went super bold like that? I think that's really awesome that she did that. But if there was a part of it she wanted to quiet a little bit, you actually, Elena, could get your big brush and just put plain water on it and just drag it across and then paper towel and lift some of the color up. So with watercolor, you're never really stuck with what you have, even if you think you totally screwed up and you're not happy with it. Just put some water down and dab it. Don't wipe it because wipe kind of irritates the paper, and just kind of pull it up. You could just pull something up if you don't like it.
Yeah.
So I think that's great that you did that. So what I'm going to do, guys, now is I'm going to do a big sky and remind you how to put some clouds in with my big piece of paper. And I'm going to go back. Before I do that, though, I'm going to go back to the sharing the screen and let you look at that picture. And I want you to get started with whatever way you want. And then I'm going to come back and start painting with you again. Does that sound okay? Yes? All right. Thanks for nodding your head, Fiona. Fiona gets Best Student of the Day award. All right. Nothing like using the mouse with my left hand. All right, here we are. Let's go back to Swan. Oh no. Oh no. Shoot. Are you guys there?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so weird.
Yeah.
My Zoom, I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Oh, you're there. I don't know what happened. Sorry. All right. Thanks, Lily. All right. Do you guys see my picture of the lake? Yeah. Elena, be careful don't go back and forth too much, okay? Because you'll just like irritate the paper. Put down that paint. You can go back and forth a few times, but don't go too vigorous. All right, here's the photograph of the lake. You can interpret it any way you want. Just get started. I gave you lots of good ideas about how you might do that. And you could draw it out. You could put down some paint. You could be bold and put a crazy sunset sky down, or you could do something more simple than what we did when we put down the blue wash and then we lifted little clouds. So let me just give you like 2 or 3 minutes to just get started whatever way you'd like, and then I'll start painting with you again. I'm just going to get more coffee. I'll be right back. Okay. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Okay. So I'm probably going to do some painting today, later on, of the lake or wherever I want to paint. There's some beautiful big trees here. I actually like the way it looks with the clothing on the clothesline. It's kind of pretty. I don't know what I'll paint, but most anything could be painted, right? You could be inspired by most anything. All right, so here we are. Let's see. So to start this painting, and this is a full sheet of paper, it's kind of a big commitment. If I was looking at this photo, as I am, the things that I really love is I love that yellow floating dock. I just think that's really, I don't know, there's something about it in the middle of this blue and green landscape I really like. And so what I might do is base my whole painting on the one thing that I'm really interested in. So I'm not really interested in the chairs. I kind of like the way the trees work. So you have to find the one thing that when you have some things that you can paint and options, you have to find the one thing that you're kind of interested in. So if I'm interested in that yellow dock and the sereneness of the lake around it, maybe I want to paint that first. So my water is kind of yucky, so I need to get some clean water, especially before I do yellow. I'm going to put down some water and I'm going to use my big brush. I'm going to paint lots of water. So I have lots of room for my dock, and then probably a smaller sky than I did last time. So let's get my blue ready. And this color of the lake here is not like a blue that you would see in the ocean. It's pretty quiet. And it almost feels like it has a silverness to it. So I'm actually going to put a tiny bit of purple into it. But look, my purple went crazy. I'm holding my brush up like this, guys, because not because I want to paint with my elbow in the air. It's just that I'm trying not to block the camera, just so you know. I don't usually paint like that, my elbow. Okay, I'm going to move things around. I'm going to stop the share so that you can watch me put in some water. Okay, now we're back to my view here. All right, so here's I've got my big brush. My water got way too much purple, so I'm gonna go to another pan. I'm gonna put back my blue, and I'm gonna water it down a lot. And I'm gonna grab just the tiniest bit of that purple because I don't want it to be too crazy. Okay, and so remember, whenever you do a wash, it's from end to end. So here's the end of my paper. I'm gonna drag it all the way across and try to keep it nice and straight. And every time I do another lead of the brush, what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the very bottom of my previous wash and I'm dragging it down. So here's another one from end to end, grabbing the bottom piece. We could call that the bead. Okay. I want you guys to know that I locked the dogs out of this room, but they are pissed that, or they're that they're not with me right now. So they're clawing at the door. Isn't that funny? They're like, let me in. How many of you have dogs?
I have 2.
Yes. Ava has a crazy dog. Does anybody else have a crazy dog? Fiona, do you have a dog?
No, but I have a cat who thinks he's a dog.
Well, I don't know what's worse, a cat that thinks it's a dog. Or a dog, what about a dog that thinks it's a cat? Literally, the dog is scratching at the door and he's like, Aunt Helene, let me in. All right, here we go. Can you guys hear the dogs? They have been let in. All right, so I'm painting in my water, remember, end to end, and dragging the bottom or the bead of each. Okay, and I have a little bit of purple there, and I'm gonna let that dry. And I'm gonna do a little bit of sky since I have some time. We don't have a lot of time left together, so. And I'm gonna make my blue for my sky wilder. Okay. Now, who remembers if I want to make a cloud, right? I want to grab a little bit of paper towel. And while my wash is still wet, I want to grab and pull up some of that paint, which I'm going to do very soon here. Okay. And then when this is all dry, I can add the dock, because anytime something has a crisp edge, you don't want fluid paint going all over the place. All right, so here I am going to pull up some clouds. Put down the paper towel. Dab it where I see fit. What if it doesn't come up? Guess what I can do? I can add some water down, paint the shape of a cloud with the water, and then put down the paper towel. See, and that one made a brighter cloud. Reader, you keep an eye on the dogs. Okay. Okay. Dogs are obnoxious. Lily has some obnoxious dogs, don't you, Lily?
They're always so loud. I was just going outside and they started barking and they wouldn't stop.
Isn't that funny? Crazy little creatures. Okay, so I dabbed in some clouds. Now this is too wet to put in my dock, but if I wanted to make a nice serene picture with just the floating dock, I want to let this totally be dry. I might pencil it in if I'm not confident with just going for it, and I might draw it in. So that's something you think about. You can work in layers, you know. Let something dry, work on it later, come back to this after a couple of hours. You don't have to like just do it and be done and call it good. I think it's much better to give yourself some time. What I like to do is work on a few paintings all at the same time and then take a break and let one dry while I'm working on another. That's kind of the way I operate. And I do that with no matter what medium I'm working with. Okay, so kids, I'm looking at the time. It's 10 o'clock. And I think you have enough information to continue to paint this morning. I would love to see what you've done. So if your parents or your grandparents want to take a quick shot of your painting and send it to me later, I would love to see it. So don't forget, tomorrow we are going to be soap carving. So you want to make sure you have something down on the table to protect it because it's pretty messy. And you want to get out that little Ziploc bag with the soap and so on in it. All right. The other thing you need for that I didn't put in the kit is just a pencil and a piece of paper. Okay. Are there any questions about what we've done today or about what's going on next time? You guys are all set? All right. I hope you guys go and do something fun today. All right. In addition to this, maybe you go for a swim or go for a bike ride or something else. All right. See you guys tomorrow morning.
Miss Elaine,
Oh, yeah. What?
I'm not gonna be here tomorrow.
Oh, that's all right. I'll record it and put it up in the cloud just like I did yesterday. Okay?
Okay.
It's no big deal. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And if not, we'll see you on YouTube. See you tomorrow.
I need to. This is too.